Well, hello everyone. Here you show you right here is like talk about your I believe it when I see it, and you're like word to word it whenever people use that word in like a phrase that you're like word to word it. What does that usually mean? Not necessarily, and I guess that they usually mean is to word that that they'll that for anything that more likely that they see that's going to get done, and if they know that if they see any changes at all, or if it's what you call whenever something that gets postponed or canceled or delayed, and sometimes or if you may have heard the same thing a number of times. And I know that some people that may say is to where that they've heard that a word I've so far saying a number of times to where it's like, and then they feel like saying is to where that well if they get real mad and frustrated about something, then they're going to likely say is to where that I'll believe it when I see it. And so that's why that some that may say have their opinions about as to where that they'll believe something whenever they actually see it. But you see right here is a picture right here, and I don't know if I've used this photograph before, but you have right here is with during my family visit right here. But you see right here is that this your young your picture right here of me right here if I were to be what you call speaking right here, and like Matthew speaks right here, like for permanent ink. If anybody has seen this before, to where that if anybody were warned to where the very first writing utensil that you may have used whenever you were very young, and besides what you call one of those markers by Crayola or any make like that, that you're gonna have like be using like the Sharpie permanent marker or something like that, and with that permanent marker that you would be able to get if you were to be like maybe in the Boy Scouts or something like that, Boy Scouts or any other type of event that they would have it to where you'll be creating posters and stuff like that, other sorts of activities that they'll have you doing especially. And so that's just the thing, though, is that we're looking at these pictures right here, and sometimes it's like whenever people say that they'll believe something whenever they see something, it's like knowing about how real does it really need to get necessarily to where that something may say, yeah, you're just gonna have to use your imagination, but but really, that while I was working this, I was thinking about, yeah, that like a rainbow, and I'm sure most of us have seen a rainbow, but you may have seen that one a number of times, but then you may have heard that before, to where besides a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, you may have seen it, you may have heard that so far a phrase is to where that, whenever the rain temperature that reaches right about the temperature or the amount of sunlight that gives from the amount of stream of water that is provided or something like that. So I know that I'm sure most of us have seen like a mist of like a rainbow look inside of like a mist of water or maybe in the sky or somewhere like that. So you're like warned to where that yeah, you may have heard it more times than you may have seen it. And so whenever people say something like, well, they'll believe it when they see it, I guess that basically means is to where they'll believe it whenever they see it, see it for their own eyes. Or so this right here will be a picture right here of me, and let's just say if I were to be using this picture, like if I think about it to where I was not getting my equal amount of attention, or it's something I was trying to get done, but it just seemed like it wasn't getting done. So a lot of my work that I was thinking about is to where, yeah, that who's holding the camera, and who's supposed to be positioned like this or that. But any problems that more likely that come up is to where that some that may say is to where I'll believe it when I see it. Whenever they are get, that's their word of saying is to where that something needs to be changed. I don't see very many changes. It's like something that needs to be something that needs to to get done here. Something anything that set down so far as action goes or anything like that, improvements. But but the way I think about it, though is like looking at this picture right here, and this picture right here that shows me right here, and I can tell anybody here that have right here is my original hair look right here. So you're like thinking about necessarily to where that about how old were you whenever this picture was taken, and thinking about I'm like really that if it's anything about digital designing or anything like that, and if anybody were warned to where that that they may say that to where that they'll believe something whenever they see it. So you're like worried to where, yeah, that whenever I see it from my own eyes, I'll be able and knowing about like really that for anybody who may see something that what you call that they may say, yeah, that nobody else seen what you've seen, and what do you call that necessarily? Like some may say that that's what you call using your imagination, but really that I would probably say I use my imagination more than what I use as to where that other people will probably think this to where they see something and they say, well, I don't think that I would really believe it unless if I seen it from my own eyes, any type of phrase like that. But you see right here is this picture I went ahead and found right here, and let's just say that if I was on a swing or at the park or maybe in the classroom doing something, and then yeah, that just thinking about is to where that a number of situations to where why people would use that word or phrase such as "I'll believe it when I see it," and so that's just the thing is to where you may have heard that something a number of times to where you're just like saying that you need a something's got to get worked out, and I guess that some people that may say is to where that yeah that you may have heard it a number of times, and to where now you're kind of like what you call you're putting your foot down and kind of speaking up for what for what you want to see, and then so that's just a thing though, is that yeah that if anybody warns us toward anything that needs to be taken care of on their side as well as they already think going on their case, and they're like warning to her that yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah, whenever I start seeing changes, more likely if I see it with my own eyes, I'll believe it when I see it. But this right here shows right here is if I were to be what you call looking at the camera or maybe doing my homework and thinking necessarily to where yeah, whenever you see your grades slipping gradually and maybe if you see them slowly improving. And you may have heard that a number of times as toward yeah, it'll get better as time goes on. You'll see some improvements. So give it some time. Let it grow, and so that's just a thing, though, as to where that you may have heard that before about permanent ink. You may have heard that before, to where the ink, ink that's harder to wash off, especially off of clothing, right? But then you're like worrying to where you'll believe it when you see it, and I guess as that basically means to where you'll believe it whenever you experience it for your own time, especially you'll experience it whenever you'll believe it whenever you experience it at your own time. So that's just the thing is to where that with me though is that looking at this picture right here and thinking about back whenever I was young, that I kept thinking about Roy. Really nobody wants to listen to me. Nobody listens to me anyhow until they can see about any kind of improvements or anything that really interests them, especially. But it's like think about it to where a number of times that I practiced, and I keep thinking about that. Well, the number of times you practiced, and if anybody else you see so many kind of improvements, especially. And I can maybe say is that yeah, that I'm only part time. Well, I can maybe believe that you can maybe do a little bit more work, can't you? And if anybody warns us toward it, yeah, do I really believe that there's more work that needs to be done that I need to do, or if it's all about us, or if anybody says, "Well, be proud that there is more work because people are asking you to do more work or so," and so it's like I think about it toward depending on about the importance about the job as well as anything else that we do, like whenever we're kids, and think about is anything that we may learn by practice or just by talent, and thinking about as to our people actually that they think it's like that they were told maybe a number of things back whenever they were young, and then trying to get some more further information about that. But I talk about for like anybody that may want to where I'll believe it when I see it, and some that may use that word or phrase such as to where yeah, I've heard that many a times. Nothing's happened yet, that they always say the same thing. I'm tired of hearing the same old thing, and they said that they said that last year, and then they're gonna more likely say the same thing the next year, or they go maybe by next week that they're gonna maybe say the same thing if they're really going to even do anything about it. But the way I think about though is like really how to get the other people's attention, especially, And I guess maybe is one of those would be quotes like to where, to make sure it's safe too, is to where that you'd like a smart idea is to where it gets somebody's attention somehow. And if anybody wonders as to where how to get their attention, maybe just to kind of show them a little bit about what's going on, and then if it's going to be what's called important or serious or anything like that. But anyway, anything important doesn't matter. But anyway, but talk about it here. It's like for Matthew Speaks, you say for Permanent Ink, and you have it here. It's like I'll believe it when I see it. But other than that, I talk about Matthew at 31. Thanks for watching. Have a great. And notice like for Matty make 25, and Matthew 31, and knowing about that, really about the for anything about for what that we believe in, as so far as believe it when I see it. And some people may also think about it as to where that that sounds like that person is not happy. So in order to be able to maybe satisfy them a little bit more, is to cheer them up and make them feel part of the group, and as well as making them feel proud as well. And talk about it, say, I believe it when I see it, whenever, something that shows like, for improvements as well. But other than that, Matty make 25, Matthew 31.